The Galactic Predators were a race that everyone in the galaxy feared. They were huge, towering beasts with thick, armored skin and sharp claws. For thousands of years, they ruled the galaxy without question. Their reputation was built on their strength, cruelty, and hunger for power. When the Predators attacked, entire planets fell. Civilizations were wiped out or enslaved. No one dared to stand against them because doing so meant certain death. The Predators had one simple rule: the strongest survive. And they believed they were the strongest of all. They enjoyed crushing weaker races, proving again and again that they were unbeatable. Many species in the galaxy had tried to resist, but all had failed. Some were destroyed completely, while others were forced to serve as slaves. The Predators had an empire that stretched across hundreds of planets, and no one had the courage to challenge them. But the Predators were not just mindless monsters. They were intelligent and organized. Their leaders, called war chiefs, planned every invasion carefully. The war chiefs took pride in the fact that no species had ever been able to defeat them. They controlled the largest fleet of warships, each armed with weapons capable of destroying cities in a single shot. These ships were feared across the stars, and any mention of them caused terror. The galaxy lived in constant fear of the Predators. Whenever a new planet was discovered, the question was always the same: will the Predators take it? And usually the answer was yes. The Predators had a thirst for conquest that seemed impossible to stop. Their empire grew larger every year, and with each victory, they became more confident in their belief that no one could ever stand in their way. But then the Predators heard rumors about a new species, a species from a distant planet called Earth. These creatures, called humans, were small compared to the Predators. They didn't have the same natural strength or fearsome appearance. In fact, the Predators thought humans looked weak and fragile. The Predators had conquered many other species that seemed stronger than humans, so they were not worried. They saw humans as just another weak race to crush. They didn't think twice before deciding to invade Earth. It would be just another easy victory to add to their long list of conquests. The war chiefs gathered their fleet and prepared for the invasion. Their plan was simple: send a small force to Earth, destroy any defenses, and take control. It had worked on countless other planets before, and they saw no reason why it wouldn't work on Earth. The war chiefs barely discussed the mission because they believed it was too easy to fail. As the Predator fleet left for Earth, there was a sense of excitement among the soldiers. They were ready for another quick and brutal victory. Many of them had heard stories about the humans, but none believed they could pose any real challenge. The Predators had always won, and they expected this to be no different. In their arrogance, the Predators never considered the possibility that they could be wrong. They had never met a species like humanity, one that didn't rely on strength alone but on intelligence, strategy, and an unbreakable will to survive. As the fleet sped through the stars toward Earth, the Predators had no idea what was waiting for them. They didn't know that humans were not like the other species they had crushed before. They didn't know that this invasion would be the beginning of their downfall. And so, the Predators flew toward Earth, confident in their power, ready to add one more planet to their empire. But this time, things were about to change. For the first time in their long history, the Galactic Predators were about to face a real fight. They were about to discover that humanity was far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The Galactic Predator fleet entered the solar system with confidence. Their warships, massive and heavily armed, moved silently through space, like a pack of hunters closing in on their prey. The Predators had one goal: Earth. To them, this mission was routine. They had crushed countless worlds before, and they were sure this would be no different. The humans were seen as weak and defenseless. To the Predators, humans were just another species to conquer and enslave. Their war chief, Gormak, smiled as he watched the blue and green planet on his display screen. He didn't expect any real resistance. Just another easy victory, he thought. As the fleet approached Earth, they sent out a message to the humans. It was a simple, brutal demand: surrender or be destroyed. The Predators always gave their enemies a choice, even though they knew most would resist and pay the price. It was part of their game, their cruel way of showing power. They waited, expecting Earth's leaders to beg for mercy. But this time, the response was different. As the fleet approached Earth, they sent out a message to the humans. It was a simple, brutal demand: surrender or be destroyed. The Predators always gave their enemies a choice, even though they knew most would resist and pay the price. It was part of their game, their cruel way of showing power. They waited, expecting Earth's leaders to beg for mercy. But this time, the response was different. Instead of surrendering, the humans sent back a message of their own. "We do not fear you. If you attack us, we will fight back." This response surprised the predators. No species had ever spoken to them like that. The war chief laughed at the humans' boldness, but there was a hint of curiosity in his eyes. Could these humans really believe they stood a chance? Without further delay, the predators launched their attack. The first wave of predator warships descended upon Earth, firing powerful energy weapons at human cities. They expected to destroy Earth's defenses within minutes, but things didn't go as planned. Humanity was ready. Human military forces had been preparing for this day ever since they detected the predator fleet approaching. Earth's nations united like never before, pooling their resources and technologies to build a defense system that would shock their enemies. As the predator ships came closer, Earth's satellites and ground-based weapons systems activated, firing back with advanced missile technology and laser cannons. The humans fought back fiercely, and for the first time in their history, the predators encountered resistance they couldn't immediately crush. Human fighter jets, armed with cutting-edge weapons, launched into the sky and began engaging the predator ships. In space, human warships, smaller but faster, launched surprise attacks on the invading fleet. The predators were not prepared for this kind of organized and calculated response. They had expected a quick slaughter, but instead they found themselves in a real battle. The humans fought with a determination and skill that surprised even the most seasoned predator warriors. Human tactics were clever, using the planet's terrain and weather to their advantage. They set traps, used hit-and-run tactics, and attacked the weak points in the predator ships. One by one, predator warships began to fall. Explosions lit up the sky as human forces took down predator fighters with precision strikes. The war chief, watching the battle from his command ship, was furious. This was not supposed to happen. How could a race of weak humans fight back so effectively? His pride turned to anger as he ordered more ships into the battle. But even with reinforcements, the predators struggled. On the ground, human soldiers defended their cities with everything they had. Civilians were evacuated to safety, and entire cities were turned into fortresses. Predator ground forces that landed on Earth quickly found themselves in tough battles with human troops. The humans were brave, resourceful, and refused to give up. They fought for their planet, their families, and their future. The battle raged for hours, with both sides taking heavy losses. But in the end, the humans did something no species had ever done before. They forced the predators to retreat. With many of their ships destroyed and their forces in disarray, the predators had no choice but to pull back. The war chief Gormak could hardly believe what was happening. The mighty Galactic Predators, who had never known defeat, were beaten by a race they had considered weak. As the predator fleet retreated, leaving behind wreckage and confusion, the humans celebrated their victory. It wasn't just a victory for Earth. It was a victory for humanity's spirit. They had shown the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. The humans knew the predators would return with more forces, but for now, they had won the first fight. And they had proven one thing: humanity was ready for whatever came next. The predators were still recovering from the shock of their defeat on Earth. Their war chief, Gormak, paced in his war room, seething with anger. No species had ever forced them to retreat, but the humans had done it. Worse, word had spread across the galaxy that the predators were beaten. Their fearsome reputation was damaged, and Gormak knew they couldn't afford another loss. But while the predators regrouped, the humans were not wasting any time. They knew the predators would come back stronger. So instead of waiting for another invasion, humanity made a bold decision. They would strike first. This was unheard of. The predators had always been the ones attacking, the ones hunting. But now the roles were about to reverse. Humanity was going to take the fight to the predators. The human leaders gathered their best military minds. They studied the predator fleet, learning their weaknesses. Over time, they developed new weapons and tactics, designed specifically to counter the predators' technology. Human engineers worked day and night to build faster ships, stronger shields, and more powerful weapons. The goal was simple: hit the predators hard where they least expected it. The time for the counterattack arrived. A fleet of human warships, led by Earth's top commanders, prepared to jump into predator territory. The mission was dangerous, but every soldier knew what was at stake. They weren't just defending Earth anymore, they were fighting for the survival of the entire human race. If the Predators weren't stopped, they would return with greater force and wipe out humanity. So the humans were going on the offensive. When the human fleet entered Predator space, they wasted no time. Their first target was a key Predator supply base located on a remote planet. The Predators never imagined anyone would dare attack them on their home turf, so their defenses were weak. The humans launched a surprise assault, taking the base by storm. Predator ships scrambled to fight back, but they were caught off guard. The humans were fast, striking with precise attacks that crippled the Predator fleet before they could properly respond. One by one, the Predator ships were destroyed. Explosions lit up the sky as human fighters darted between the enemy vessels, targeting their weak points. The Predator supply lines were cut off, leaving their forces stranded without resources. For the first time, the Predators found themselves on the defensive, something they had never experienced before. On the ground, human special forces infiltrated Predator bases, sabotaging their operations and gathering intelligence. These elite soldiers moved with speed and precision, striking from the shadows and disappearing before the Predators could retaliate. Every mission was a success, and the damage to the Predator war machine was immense. Humanity was not just surviving anymore, they were winning. The war chief, Gormak, was furious when he heard the news. He couldn't believe that the humans had dared to attack his own territory. Worse, they were succeeding. His empire, once thought unbreakable, was now crumbling. Desperate to stop the humans, Gormak gathered his remaining forces for a counterattack. But the humans were always one step ahead. Their tactics were clever and their attacks were swift. Every time the Predators tried to strike back, they found their fleets outmaneuvered by the human ships. The humans didn't stop with one attack. They kept pushing deeper into Predator space, hitting key planets, outposts, and fleets. The more victories they won, the more the other species in the galaxy began to notice. For years, the galaxy had lived in fear of the Predators, but now they saw hope. Other alien species, inspired by humanity's courage, began to rebel against their Predator masters. Revolts broke out on several Predator-controlled worlds, weakening their control over the galaxy even more. The humans were relentless. They knew the Predators were still dangerous, but they also knew they had the upper hand. The Predator Empire was collapsing, and every successful mission brought humanity closer to victory. With each passing day, the once mighty Predators lost more ground, their forces shrinking as humans advanced. In one final act of defiance, Gormak vowed to crush humanity. But deep down, he knew the truth. The Predators were no longer the hunters. They were the prey, and humanity, the species they had once thought weak and insignificant, had become the galaxy's most dangerous opponent. The tide had turned, and the Predators' reign of terror was coming to an end. Humanity's counterattack had shattered the illusion of Predator invincibility. Now, it was only a matter of time before the humans delivered the final blow. The galaxy held its breath as humanity prepared for the final battle. The Predators, once the most feared species in the universe, were now desperate. Their empire, once vast and unbreakable, had been reduced to a few remaining strongholds. Gormak, the Predator war chief, had gathered his last fleet at their home planet. This was their final stand. If they lost here, the Predator reign would be over. On the other side, the human fleet was ready. This was the moment they had been fighting for. The humans had come a long way, from being underestimated to becoming the galaxy's most feared warriors. Every soldier knew what this battle meant. It was the end of the war. Either the Predators would be crushed once and for all, or humanity would fall. The human commanders stood on the bridge of their flagship, looking out at the Predator home planet. It was surrounded by massive warships, heavily armed and ready to defend their leader to the death. But the humans had a plan. They had studied every move the Predators made in past battles and had crafted a strategy that would exploit their weaknesses. The human fleet advanced, moving swiftly and silently through the cold vacuum of space. The Predator sensors detected them and alarms blared across the planet. Gormak ordered his ships to engage immediately. This was it, the final showdown. The battle that would decide the fate of two species. The clash was violent and chaotic. Predator warships fired massive energy blasts, shaking the human ships with every hit. Explosions lit up the dark sky as ships from both sides were destroyed. But the humans fought with precision and discipline. Their new technology gave them an edge, allowing them to evade the heaviest of predator attacks and strike back at critical points. In the midst of the chaos, a group of elite human pilots led a daring assault on the Predator flagship. These were humanity's best, and they had one goal: take out Gormak. If they could defeat the war chief, the rest of the Predator forces would crumble. The human fighters weaved through enemy fire, dodging deadly blasts and launching torpedoes at the Predator ships. One by one, the Predator escorts fell, leaving Gormak's flagship exposed. Gormak watched from his command center, his eyes filled with rage. How had it come to this? How had the humans, a species he once saw as nothing more than weaklings, pushed him to the brink? He had never tasted defeat before, and the thought of losing was unbearable. But the battle was slipping from his grasp, and he knew it. With a roar, Gormak ordered his ship to dive into the heart of the human fleet, determined to take as many of them down as he could. But the humans were ready. They had been waiting for this moment. As Gormak's ship charged forward, the human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Massive energy beams and missiles tore through the Predator flagship's defenses, ripping the ship apart piece by piece. Inside the Predator command center, Gormak could feel his ship dying around him. Systems were failing, alarms blaring, and fires erupted across the bridge. Still, he refused to surrender. If he was going to fall, he would fall fighting. With one last desperate scream, he ordered a suicide run at the human flagship. But before he could reach his target, a final volley from the human fleet struck his ship's reactor. The Predator flagship exploded in a massive fireball, lighting up the battlefield. Gormak was gone. The moment the war chief's ship was destroyed, the remaining Predator forces panicked. Without their leader, they were lost. Human forces quickly moved in, capturing or destroying the rest of the Predator fleet. The battle was over. Humanity had won. Cheers erupted across the human ships. The galaxy was free from the Predator threat. What had once seemed like an impossible war was now a victory. Humanity had not only defended Earth, but had brought down the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. As the human fleet turned back toward Earth, the galaxy watched in awe. Humanity, the species once seen as weak, had proven themselves as the new power in the galaxy. They had fought the invincible predators and emerged victorious. The war was over, and humanity had shown the universe one undeniable truth: they were unstoppable.